validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I had a delay right before I started, man. I was swiping, and then I seen that it looked like there's a strong possibility that Trump and Musk might have beef. Woo-doo. So I'm gonna have to get some details about that. I'm gonna have to let you guys know what's going on with that. Gonna be crushing the storyline, but recognizing that it's all over the place right now, that everybody's talking about how Trump didn't do what Trump was supposed to do, or Musk didn't do what Musk was supposed to do. Odds are we're going to have a hard time being seen tonight, but that's okay though, because we're going to cover that topic on Monday. Now, I got to tell you, since live streaming the news and sports events has become a thing, it is a larger challenge for the average podcaster to put out information, but that's okay, because it takes dedication. You guys are going to find value in everything that we do, for as long as we do what we do. And as I tell you guys on a regular basis, we don't let the sun rise without going live. So We are here 7 nights a week. We're going to cover what just happened between Trump and Elon Musk on Monday. And then we're going to talk about how that impacts the rest of us, because everything is a trickle down effect. And we'll see how that affects the rest of us, what changes will be made, what changes will not be made, and what if those issues are issues that we really need to pay any attention to. In addition to that, because today's Friday, we have Saturday. We're going to be covering some stuff on Saturday. Then we're going to be doing the Sunday members only show. And then Tuesday, we're going to be talking about some ways to invest and build wealth. And then Wednesday, we're going to be talking to Sarah. So Sarah's going to be here live on Wednesday. So if you didn't know, now you know, and you'll be able to ask her questions about dating and relationship advice. Then Thursday, we will flip the script and talk about different countries we can invest in, and then be back to our regular schedule. Now, today we're going to be talking about building your personal value. Yeah, that's normally I got a nice big spiel. I mean, I know that we got the link in the comment section for those of you that are watching us from Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube. You guys can click those links. You can approve the mic, approve the camera to bring you on in real time. If you guys got something you want to add to the platform, and you don't want to be present, you can always throw your comments in the comment section, and you'll see your comments show here if your comments are appropriate, and I see them. Then I respond to all of your comments. This is an interactive podcast, so for those of you that are on Twitch and Twitter, I do respond to you guys' comments. If you guys have something that you want to add to the discussion, as long as those comments are reasonably appropriate. We typically start off around about the same time. On Wednesday, we will be starting at 10 on a dot Central Time, which is 11 on the dot Eastern Time. And that is going to give us the ability to give the guest enough time to talk about all the things that she would like to talk about, and cover any questions that we're going to have. And depending on how long we carry the show, because we might carry the show for a couple of hours, but we should carry the show at least 30 minutes to the hour with her on the show. Because when we had Joe Mastrano, we ended up having a 3-hour conversation. And when we had Alan from Happy Oli and Crestify on here, we also did a 2.5, 3-hour show. So it's good to come on time on Wednesday and, give a shout out and everybody get their thing going, and then we'll be able to see what we got going on. Now, as far as today, I'm thrilled to have you guys come tonight, because tonight might be the most ambitious journey that we've ever taken on the show, because this one is about so much more than just your self-improvement like we talked about yesterday, or just regular dating advice like we're going to be experiencing on Wednesday. This is about starting from zero, rebuilding yourself and your value from the ground up, and pushing the boundaries of what love, connection, and self-worth can mean here in 2025. And you're coming along the ride every step, every stumble, and every breakthrough along the way. Here's the twist, though. This isn't just about an individual story. It's about what it means to be a high value person in today's world. Now, understandably, ladies, this is 75% a male podcast. This is male driven podcast from the male's perspective, but I come from a uniform perspective. So we will be able to discuss how these habits that I'm about to talk about can transform your relationships, regardless of whether or not you're a high valued man or a high valued woman. And get this, how love can transcend borders, cultures, and expectations. So whether you're looking to level up your life, attract the right partner, or explore love beyond boundaries, this episode is especially for you. So let's get real for just a second. In 2025, more people than ever are questioning their worth. According to a recent Gallup poll, nearly 62% of adults say they struggle with self-doubt. The World Health Organization just reported that global self-esteem levels have dropped by 8% in the last 5 years. Why do you think this is? Because we're bombarded with highlight reels on social media and pressured to measure up to impossible standards. If you think about the truth, highlight reels, people's lifestyles, relationships, and everything that you see on social media is clip art where they edited out all the negative stuff and shown only the positive stuff. And then if you compound all of the best moments into a highlight reel, it seems like a picture perfect lifestyle. But when you take out the negative side, you take out realism, because no relationship is 100% perfect. Some are managed better than others. Some are less conflictual than others. But there's always going to be a disagreement. There's always going to be an argument. There's always going to be some resentment somewhere for not saying or not doing, or doing too much or saying too much. Regardless of the fact, there's going to be some there. Now you're going to work through it and you're going to stick with it. But every relationship is different. But even though every relationship is different, you nevertheless will still experience some friction along the way. It's not a smooth ride, and it's not an autopilot experience. It's not something that just happens. It's something that you have to make happen. So if you're not putting in a lot of effort to see it happening, you understand that your partner in a relationship is doing double duty to make up for what you're not doing. The effort that goes into making you smile, the effort that goes into making you laugh, the effort that goes into taking away your tears, that effort is got to be reciprocated. And if you are on autopilot when things are smooth, and then when things are stressful for you, it's their job to comfort you. And then when you're no longer stressed out, things are smooth. At no point in time are you putting that exact same effort back into your partner. That's a one-sided relationship. And you're going to find that those relationships succeed a whole lot less than relationships where both parties put extra emphasis in the other person. Even in those romantic novels and romantic movies, those love dramas and whatnot, when a relationship starts getting rocky, the boyfriend puts in just as much effort as the girlfriend, even though they're doing it at different moments during the movie, to make that relationship work. And at some point, they cut all the games out and they just stop one another and say, look, I'm going to put it all on the table, how important you are to me. And the other person puts it all on the table on how important you are to them. And we're going to make it work from this point forward. Doesn't mean that it's happily ever after, but they've just resolved all of the conflict from the series at the season finale. And you're expecting them to move forward together, not necessarily conflict free. So just note that there's a lot more to this than just getting into a relationship and just existing. Now, the American Psychological Association in 2025 had a mental health pulse survey, and it found that 71% of Gen Zs and 74% of millennials, which is like people who were born in 2000, who feel their self-worth is directly affected by social media comparisons. And of course, the average individual that's modeling clothes and modeling makeup is overly sexualizing themselves. And then the average person who's modestly dressed or conservatively dressed is comparing her or his appearance to a person who is only wearing this outfit for the 3 to 5 minutes of the recording. They don't look like that all day. They don't wear that outfit all week. They might only wear it the one time that they recorded that video. You'll never see them wear it again. But you will compare your lifestyle and you'll compare your body shape or your style and clothes to the person that you're following on a social media platform, which makes no sense. The average person now spends almost 3 hours a day scrolling, liking, and let's be honest, comparing ourselves to something else. I can say that there has been a time or two that I found myself 3 or 4 hours just scrolling, but I wasn't comparing. I understand that where I want to be and where I am are not the same thing. But where I want to be is not compared to somebody else's situation. But I can think to myself that as a podcaster, I would compare myself to those podcasters that are wandering around the world, recording themselves in other countries. But the comparison that we're talking about in this situation is not that. That's an end goal. Like, oh man, I want to get my podcast so big that we're going to fly all over the place off the budget of the podcast. That's a goal. But someone else would be looking at, well, he or she is more attractive than I am. Look at their figure, look at their outfit, look at their swag, look at the, and I wish I could do that, without actually putting any effort into it. Then devaluing yourself because you believe that you're not good enough. That's the wrong thing to do. By all means, you're good enough. Even overweight women are able to look extremely attractive if they do it appropriately. It's just how you carry yourself, and then followed by how you believe in yourself after that. But here's the truth, though. Personal value isn't about likes, followers, or external validation. It's about recognizing your unique skills, contributions, and passions, and then leveling them up. So when we have talked about on the show quite a few times, when we ask women, what do they bring to the table that a man can value? And I specifically say, let's take away your education, your career choice, and sex off the table, because the knowledge that you have isn't relevant to whether or not you're going to cooperate with a man. The income levels doesn't put anything towards whether or not you're going to cooperate with the man. And then whether or not you put out in the bedroom should not be a defining factor of your value as a woman. So taking those three off the table, I'm like, look, what do you bring to the table? Because you have skills, you have contribution efforts, you have a passion, and these uniquely to you attributes are the things that cost no money that men are looking for. And it's hard because when I try to talk to you ladies about this on the channel, a lot of them get upset and they start, taking shots. And I take them shots because I'll be taking shots like Terminator 2 up in here. Y'all be getting at me like RoboCop. just be taking shots. And the thing is that I'd be looking at the fact that they're more upset at the fact that I hit the nail on the head when I was describing attributes of an individual that needs improvement, as opposed to recognizing that if I meet this description, I should probably change. And not too many people do that. But research from Harvard Business Review shows that people who actively invest in their personal growth are 47% more likely to land a new opportunity, whether it's a dream job, a promotion, or even a new relationship. So when I'm telling you that it is beneficial to you to find your own flaws in yourself, or just take a survey from the people that you value and find out the flaws that they point out in you and pick the ones that you want to improve on, because you don't have to change everything about you. You don't have to care about everything that everybody says about you, but the people who matter to you most, that you believe you matter to the most, are going to be the ones that are going to tell you the most honest, critical, constructive criticism that you will hear about yourself. Whether you like what they have to say or not, they're going to tell you what you need to know, and that's where you're going to need to work. Now, my man Carl just jumped in. I really appreciate that. It's been a pretty decent time. Hey, Carl, we've got Sarah coming to the show next week, Wednesday, or this coming Wednesday, so in a few days. And she's going to be answering questions from the fans about everything under the sun as far as dating and relationships are concerned. So if you've got time, I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. But if you've got the time, We're going to be starting at about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we're going to run it for about an hour or so. And she's going to be answering questions and comments from the fans. Bayside said he was going to be there, and I think a few others are going to be jumping in with some comments guaranteedly. And I wanted to make sure that you knew so that you could take the time to swing by and give it. Yes, exactly. This Wednesday. It's matter of fact, there it is right there. See that? I even put the date there. 6/11. So today, so 5 days from now, this coming Wednesday, she's going to be on the show. We're going to start on time. Normally I start 30 minutes to an hour late, but this time she's going to be there. We starting on time and we're going to ride the wave. So if you got the time to pop in, by all means, pop in. I greatly appreciate it if you got that time. So hopefully, like I said before, your family's doing well. I'm doing good. Family's doing good. You know, everything's peaceful. We're still making some changes. And as we're making those changes, oh, excellent. We'll hang out. I'll let her know that you're going to drop in and throw down a bunch of quick because you have some of the most amazing questions. So we're gonna be picking apart. This is a positive thing now. So this isn't a situation where we're going to make her seem like she's wrong. This is a positive situation. She's going to be providing advice for individuals. She's going to be providing her perspective from a female's perspective, ways to find matches and hopefully ways to stick with those matches. And you know, this isn't a situation this isn't going to turn into one of those red pill, blue pill debates. You know, I'm not unlike unlike your boy Myron, who brings women onto the show to make them look like idiots. I actually would prefer for the ones that got sense to come up here and talk. And I believe this one's got some sense. So when she gives y'all dating advice, she's going to be hitting y'all from a different perspective. So, you know, we're going to be picking apart like relationships, not her. We're going to be picking apart relationships, and we're going to be picking apart the dating, the approaching, the communication. We're going to be like, you know, really ironing it out as to like what things need to be done in modern times, because those of us as old school, we were doing it different 25 years ago. And the way we was able to get girls back in the day and the way we was able to get picked up by girls back in the day is way different than the way things are right now. And right now we have a goal and a mission, and that goal and that mission requires us to increase our value and increase our wealth and then go out there and try to make something happen. Because as long as you broke, you can swipe right on a lot of these photos, but these females gonna look at your wallet and be like, nah, that's too many butterflies and moths flying out of that wallet. Okay, he said, well, give your dad a big hug. He said he's just chucking his dad in right now, but he's gonna try hard to tap in. No worries, no worries. We got us a pretty decent sized show today. We just got started. I'm only 7 pages in. I'm about to break down some things. So you came in right around a good time. First of all, we're going to be talking about this self-awareness. So I'm going to go ahead and mosey into it so that you can listen to us in the background, even if you can't comment. Self-awareness is going to be your superpower, guys. And studies have shown that self-aware individuals are 32% happier and more resilient in the face of setbacks, meaning that when times get tough, you will be able to persevere. And you ask yourself, are you self-aware or not? How would you know? Because everybody knows when they've got stuff going on, and everybody knows when they've got stuff that they can't handle going on, and everybody knows that they have some kind of a plan that they want to utilize in order to work out that stuff. But you are self-aware when you are capable of recognizing what you have accomplished versus what you need to accomplish. And then you're checking off the list the things that you attempted to do that failed, and then reevaluating yourself to be able to recognize what you're capable of doing, and then trying something else that's more in line with the availability of your capabilities. For example, if you wanted a new car, instead of begging for it, you're looking at your finances, you're looking at your budget if you're going to finance the vehicle or if you're going to buy it cash up front, you're looking at the make and model, you're looking at the fuel efficiency. When you go to the dealership, you're not as interested in the sales pitch that they want you to just suck up and just start taking notes on. You want them to feed you the directions to where the vehicle is located at that you're specifically looking for. When you're aware, you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and you know most of what the things that you need to do to accomplish that. And if you walk through the door and the deal doesn't go the way you want it to go at first, you know that you have to do certain things and reassess your situation and then try it again. Same thing with getting a credit card. You might apply for a credit card and fail, and you don't know why you failed, but you failed. That's fine. When you fail, you're going to reassess your situation. And then when you reassess your situation, then you're going to tiptoe back over there. You're going to try again. You might need to do a different credit card company. You might need to do a secured credit card company. You might have to try something left field in order to get right. Until you get right, you got to make it do what it do. And that's what people don't pay attention to. So you have to start with goal setting, because this works. Goal setting works in 2025. People who set clear, actionable goals, because being a billionaire is a goal, but only 1% of people are achieving that. You understand? 99% of us are never going to see $1 billion in real life. Not that belong to us. So you got to find goals that are actionable, and you are twice as likely to achieve those compared to people who don't create goals. Your skill building is a non-negotiable expectation these days. The World Economic Forum predicts that by 2030, 85% of job success will come from soft skills like communication, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. So supporting networks is going to be the most important thing next to your ability to work on some of these soft skills. And the funny thing about relationships is that these soft skills, emotional intelligence, adaptability, and communication, are 3 of the dominant keys that you need to have a happy and successful relationship. So to have a successful lifestyle, you need to incorporate these methods in more than one scenario. But people with strong support group systems are 40% more likely to reach their personal and professional goals, which is one of the reasons why the 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life defines you. The average of 5 people that you spend the most time with define who you are. So if you're hanging around 5 people that do anything, guess what you will accomplish? Very little, if anything. If you are surrounded by 5 people that are overachievers, you will accomplish more with them than what you would have expected to accomplish without them. The average between the lazy friend and the overachieving friends is going to be where you're going to fall in. Resilience is key. And according to 2025's Global Reliance Index, individuals who practice daily gratitude and mindfulness report 23% lower stress levels and 18% higher life satisfaction, meaning that you appreciate what you have overcome so far, whether being proud of yourself for completing the tasks for your family members, being proud of yourself for getting through the month, getting proud of yourself for maintaining financial stability amongst hard times, being able to keep things afloat without taking out extra loans, being able to pay off loans if you took off the loans. You see what I'm saying? Being able to maintain that 30-year-old car and keep that bad boy running, whatever it is that you're doing. If you got a car older than your girlfriend and the car lasted longer than your relationship, be proud that you still got that car. You understand? Because the little things in life add up, because at least you're not walking. What they say, find a silver lining out of every storm cloud. The lights might go off, but at least you still got a roof over your head. You burn some candles. You gotta find it, and you will find yourself less stressed. Because if you believe that your world is coming to an end because you can't get your way, you will have a severe panic attack. If you find yourself in situations where things are not going the way you would prefer them to go, where nobody is cooperating with your objectives, you cannot allow frustration to overpower you. You must maintain a level of humility and recognize that this too will pass. And when it does, you will still be here grinding at the grindstone, making it work. But let's talk about the real obstacles, though, because we all compare ourselves to others, especially online. And did you know that the average person in 2025 spends almost 3 hours a day just simply staring, scrolling, comparing, and measuring themselves up to somebody they do not know? As I told you guys a while back, that is a lot of time to feel like you're not measuring up to a complete stranger. And the fear of failure, as I mentioned to you all before, this is something that is real. People will not take action because they are afraid to fail. And those are people that are on the same boat as people who will not take action because they're afraid to succeed, because the fear of success is toppled by the fear of failing to maintain that success once they're successful. We talked about that a lot yesterday. But here's the kicker: 78% of successful entrepreneurs say their biggest breakthroughs came right after their biggest setbacks. So how do we flip the script? If we start with our honest self-assessments, what are you great at? Where do you want to grow? This leads us to putting aces in their places, because if your skill set is in a specific niche, you can work in that niche. If your skill set needs work in certain areas, you can start putting in work in that area in order to improve the areas that you are the weakest. It's almost like training a fantasy football player. If you get one that's an 89, he's better than most, but it's an 89. To make them to that 99%. And now I think about it to this day, I've always wondered, why can I not make my fantasy football player a perfect 100? Well, they can't make it a perfect 100 because it is never perfect. There is a percentage of error there for a mistake, for a fumble, for a double dribble, for a foul, for a penalty, for a drop ball, for a unexpected turn of events. Nothing's going to be perfect. But just like with a fantasy football player, you can still take a look at whatever stats that he has for the position he's supposed to play, and then work on the stats that you want to utilize for the goals that you want that player to accomplish. So you could take a kicker with a good arm and turn him into a quarterback if you increase his agility. You could take a quarterback and turn him into a running back just because you gave him a lot of speed. There is a lot of things that you can do if you know what you're trying to accomplish, but you have to set one small specific goal. And if you do one small specific goal this week, maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's volunteering somewhere or reaching out to someone for feedback. And I told somebody I knew about this once before. I said, hey, go to your husband and ask him what he thinks about you. He chopped her up. But she said that because she couldn't handle what he had to say, he said he's never going to tell her the truth again about that. And I told her, I said, look, you got to think, you gotta swallow that, because if you want to know where you need to improve, it is going to hurt your feelings the most that the people that you value the most think so negatively about the things that you do. But they value you so much that instead of them telling you the stuff about you that they didn't like, they kept it to themselves and they got over it. But when you ask them exactly what about you could use some improvement, where you're giving them permission to tell you everything they don't like about the things that you do and the decisions that you make, that is when Pandora's box opens, and it is worse than a roast. But the fact is that if you take notes, you can pick which things you want to work on, which ones you want to work on first, and try to see if you can reduce some of those complaints. You got to invest in yourself, whether it's a free online course or reading 10 pages of a book. Every little bit counts. In fact, Coursera's 2025 report shows 36% increase in people taking those online courses for personal growth, not just career advancement, meaning that people are doing more trying to broaden their horizons. I know some folks who took cooking classes just for the sake of killing time. Not because they wanted to be a chef, not because they wanted to change careers and become a pastry chef or something like that, just to say that they know how to do it. But they learned something new. The next step is you have to build yourself a tribe. And this is a little bit more difficult because it requires a lot more networking. But if you surround yourself with people who lift you up and challenge you to grow, your unwillingness to push forward will be offset by the drive. Because peer pressure is not bad until peer pressure is pressuring you to do something that has negative, catastrophic side effects towards your objectives and your goals. We're taught from small, do not succumb to peer pressure. But we're taught that because smoking, drinking, doing drugs, underage sex, these are things that we do, stealing, unnecessary violence, dangerous stunts. These are the things that we used to do before we knew the consequences of our actions and how those consequences would negatively impact our future. Those that would follow the leader, or those that would be the leader of followers who would get everybody into a world of trouble or get into a world of trouble with everybody, those individuals are not thinking about how, if they had a better group of individuals around them, that they would have been making better decisions. Peer pressure is positive when they're motivating you to try harder at work, when they're motivating you to get that promotion, when they're motivating you to be more confident in yourself, when people who tell you, I don't know why you haven't done it yet, you should have been got that job, you should have been got that promotion, you're overqualified for the position, go talk to the boss. It doesn't matter if you're trying to change jobs, you're trying to change jobs for a higher position. Start with the job that you work with, see if your job will promote you, and if they don't want to promote you, find out why. Because there's an application for a job title right above you. So they should promote from within. So if they don't want you in their managerial position, they're the first person to tell you what about you needs to improve before you go to somebody that you don't work for and ask for the same job. It is what it is. Now, practice self-care, guys. The CDC reports that people who prioritize their mental and physical health are 50% more productive and report higher life satisfaction. If you are getting that exercise, getting up, moving around, find yourself in a vertical position more often than you find yourself on your back. And that goes for more than just the ladies. Because the more time you spend lying down, waiting for time to pass by, the less time you're putting into making yourself successful or improving your areas of success. And you got to remember your journey. Your journey is unique. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times before Harry Potter saw the light of day. And that is one of the most popular series that people have ever gotten their hands on, book and movie wise, next to like The Matrix or some of the other ones that come out there. So think about how it took 12 times for somebody to reject the story of Harry Potter, and then the 13th person that came across Harry Potter and look at the Harry Potter rides, the Harry Potter theme parks, the Harry Potter theories series, the Harry Potter books, the Harry Potter memorabilia. If he would have quit after the first time, after the third time, if he would have quit, we would have never seen the light of day for Harry Potter. We would have never seen such a great series. You can't quit. You can't give up. If the first person rejects you, somebody's going to take you. You just got to keep trying. That actually works the same for dating. But in 2025, there are thousands of stories just like that one, where people who turned self-doubt into self-worth and setbacks into comebacks. And there's a song out there that says that a saint is just a sinner that got back up. It is what it is. Until you get back up, you have failed. You fell off that bike. You failed to ride the bike. But I can tell you, no matter how many times you fall off of that bike, you get back on that bike and you continue going. When you get to your destination, what happened? You rode your bike there. It don't matter how many times you fell off the bike before you got there. You rode your bike there. But if you fell off the bike and never get back on, you didn't make it because you fell off your bike. More often than not, the outcome matters more than the journey. But the journey is more important than the outcome. Now let's shift gears. You know, there's a lot of mystery around what makes some guys just naturally good with women, right? And they walk into a room and everyone's drawn to them. It's not just about looks or money. It's about being a high valued man. Now, understanding their behaviors can seriously help you improve your own attraction skills. A lot of guys get it wrong when trying to attract women. They think it's all about being rich, having a six-pack, or being super funny all the time. But the truth is, women want something deeper. They want a guy who's genuine, who's got his life together, and who can connect with them on a real level. The problem is, many men struggle to understand what women truly desire, leading to frustration and disappointment in their dating lives. According to a 2025 Match.com survey, women ranked emotional maturity and purpose-driven living as the top two most attractive qualities in men, beating out appearance and wealth by a landslide. And a Stanford study this year found that self-assured men are 37% more likely to form meaningful connections, both romantically and professionally. A recent Pew Research Center report found that 68% of women in the US and Europe say emotional intelligence is more important than physical attractiveness in a long-term partner. Now, that's not got nothing to do with the jump-offs. And getting all this in, the same study showed that men who practice active listening and empathy are 45% more likely to be rated as highly desirable on dating apps. So confidence, not arrogance, is what we're looking for. High value men are comfortable in their own skin. They don't need to prove themselves. So you don't have to dress like you're rich if you're rich. You don't have to put on a show like you're stable if you're stable. You don't got to prove it to people that you got it like that because you got it like that. Somebody has to pull $100,000 out of their bank account to prove that they got $100,000. That's their last $100,000. What they gonna do with that? I can spend that in 30 seconds. Or we can invest it and make money for us. You've got to understand that you don't have to prove anything to anybody else outside of how how much you value them versus how much you observe them valuing you. That's it. If I told you I was rolling in it, you ain't got to believe me. But I will never pimp my ride, and I will never cribs in my house. Why? Because everybody whose house was on cribs got audited by the IRS right after that. Every car that got pimp my ride had backlash on it after that. Putting on this persona that I got it like that and then broadcasting it to the world is going to have somebody jealous of you, report you to the IRS, and then the IRS is going to come dig into your personal finances until they run off with your golden toilet like MC Hammer. The more you got, the less people need to know that you got it. A wise man once said, tell somebody that you have access to 30% of what you actually have access to. So if you got access to $100,000, tell them you make 30. Because they only need to know that you make money. They don't need to know how much. If you got access to a place to stay, they don't need to know if you own a house or if you rent it. They don't need to know if it's a house or an apartment. You have a roof over your head, a consistent place to sleep. The less you tell people, the less information that they can utilize to destroy you. It is the way it is. Look for ambition and purpose, not people pleasing or impressing the crowd. If you set goals in all areas of life, from health to hobbies to relationships, you'll find that you will be a lot more successful. LinkedIn's 2025 Success Index shows men who pursue personal growth outside of work report 28% higher life satisfaction, where social skills and presence is known. They know how to hold a conversation, listen actively, and make others feel valued, even if they're not valued. And according to Psychology Today, the ability to fully present is now considered the number one X factor in attraction. So the irony, practicing presenting to this podcast on a regular basis so that if I ended up in a conversation with somebody in person, some of the mistakes that I make, stuttering over my words or getting distracted with side things and not reading the script clearly, are all things that I can learn and overcome, where when I'm having a real-time conversation with somebody in person, I can maintain a positive flow in my dialogue, which allows me to communicate fully, be understood fully, and still be able to articulate the necessary information in a reasonable period of time, which takes practice. Removing ums, ands, removing awkward silence. These are traits that keynote speakers learn, presidents learn. Donald Trump a lot, but that doesn't change anything. It's how you do what you do in addition to what you're doing. And next thing you want to do is you want to forget the old myth that men shouldn't show emotion, because I know that some of us grew up with a public announcement and men ain't supposed to cry, but that's not true. A new YouGov poll found that 63% of women in 2025 say vulnerability is a key trait they seek in a partner. Now, this vulnerability comes at a high price, because vulnerability can only be expressed when there is no judgment or recourse. So this is immunity from consequence to vulnerability. If you don't like what you heard, accept it and move on. But if you're going to cause conflict or retaliate to the information that you heard, you are going to be kept on a need to know basis, where you do not need to know until after it directly impacts you in real time. Because even if it impacts you passively, you still don't need to know until you recognize that it's impacting you if you're going to retaliate to the information that you hear. And women aren't going to agree to that. But ladies, that's exactly how men behave when they're forthcoming to their woman, and their woman takes the information that he gives her, and then she chews him up and spits him out. He's not going to tell her as much stuff. He'll tell her some stuff so that she knows that he's not keeping everything from her as a secret. But the things that he knows that she will chew him out for, he's not going to tell her that. But ladies, by not providing a judgment-free, resentment-free, retaliation-free zone, completely immunity for him to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you put up a wall in your relationship which allows room for secrets. But if he can tell you anything and you're not going to get mad about it because he told you about it instead of letting you find out from somebody else, at the end of the day, he's not going to feel comfortable with doing anything that he doesn't feel comfortable with telling you, which also builds a higher level of honesty and a higher level of trust and dedication and loyalty. Because if I can tell my wife anything, but I can't tell her this, I can't do this. Because if I do this, I'm not going to feel comfortable telling my wife, which means that while my wife would allow me to tell her anything, this would be the first secret I keep. And I don't want this to be the first secret I keep, because this will destroy the trust in my relationship. Do you see how that works out? So all that boils down to building a trust zone. Now, if you give him the opportunity to judgment-free, resentment-free, retaliation-free, tell me everything that I need to know, and you still don't say something, if I find out like cheaters, it's going down. If a private investigator got to come and let me know that something didn't went down, if I got to hear through the grapevine that something that went down, when I gave you the floor and you had every opportunity to tell me that something was about to go down or something that already went down, if you're about to give me the confessions part 2, because the baby on the doorstep, when I asked you in confessions part 1 what you had to tell me, you told me don't worry about it. Look, Isley ain't dig that hole in the desert for nothing. I just want y'all to understand now. O.J. Simpson. Y'all be ruining y'all relationships by not setting up a trust zone for your partner. This ultimately impacts your authenticity. High value men aren't trying to impress people. They are just living their truth. So if I'm doing my own thing, wherever I'm doing my own thing, and if I'm dating a female that's going to be questioning my whereabouts because she GPS tracking my situation, I'm not going to feel comfortable with acting in her presence, because she will be accusing me of going somewhere, doing something, or lying about where I said I was going to be at if I went to the right and then I ended up at the left. These are things that we have to work on and address. Being able to feel confident as a man, being able to feel confident as a woman, doing what it is that you do. That don't mean, oh, you ain't got to worry about where I've been. You ain't my daddy. That's not what we're talking about. Being able to say, yes, I did go to such and such place. Are you okay with that? No, I didn't go where I said I was going to go. Something came up. What came up? This is what happened. Are you okay with that? Not being afraid to say, yeah, I did exactly what I did. What about it? It's not saying that you're not caring. It's that you're doing what you would have done whether you were going to do it or not. So the judgment there shouldn't be any. Acknowledging that I'm not going to lie about it. I did it. I did what I was supposed to do, or I did what I thought I was supposed to do, at the very least. Now think about this, though. A recent survey by The Atlantic reveals that 72% of women are more attracted to men who are unapologetically themselves, as I just explained, even if that means being a little quirky. So again, if you were supposed to be at your cousin's house and you ended up by your mama's house, and your mama got you taking your homeboy to go pick up his girl, and his girl work at the strip club, your car parked outside the strip club because you got to go pick this person up, and you ain't got nothing to do with this place, but they ride like a free Uber, and then you drive them back to the hotel and drop them off. Just because your girl see your car stop at the strip club and then stop at the hotel, you should be able to say, yeah, I did that. And then after they got the hell out of my car, I went to the gas station, put some gas in my car, and came on back to the house. What about it? If you got nothing to hide, you should not be embarrassed about the actions that you perform. If you got nothing to hide, you should be confident about the decisions that you made. If you did something and you did it intentionally, there's nothing to apologize for. But I'm sorry that you mad at me. Why? If I didn't want you to be mad at me and I knew that what I was going to do would make you mad at me, then wouldn't my decision-making process be to not do something that you're going to be mad at? Because if my thought process is, I don't care if she's mad at it, I'm going to do it anyway. If that is your thought process, then why, after she find out about it, are you going to apologize for doing it? It don't make it right either way. But my point is that if you knew what you was going to do was going to piss off your woman, why you apologizing to her after you did it? You only apologize for the things that you did not intend on doing, the outcomes that you were not expecting, that you did not plan for. Y'all got to think about this now. Y'all need to start reserving I'm sorry's like $1 million checks. Y'all need to be holding on these bad boys like them golden tickets from Willy Wonka. Y'all need to be holding on them bad boys. Apologize for something genuine. Don't just apologize because you want her to stop talking. And then you guys got to start being consistent about this, because the consistency is starting to be a thing. According to the 2025 Relationship Science Review, reliability and dependability are the most cited deal makers for women seeking long-term partnerships. But here's the thing. It's not just about adding a few traits to your personality and expecting to see results. It's about embodying these qualities in a way that feels natural and authentic to you. For example, if you're not naturally outgoing, don't try to be someone you're not. Just be a better version of yourself. So if you stay in all the time, find something to do inside. If you're not a social butterfly, don't be a social butterfly. Be the best fly on the wall you could be. The most critical insight about high-value men is that they're not trying to impress anybody. And I've been telling y'all this for the longest period of time. When we're taking these females out on a date, ladies, when y'all are going out on a date, ladies are not going to agree with that. They're going to be like, he got to show out and show off. And no, because you're not looking at this man for the amount of money that he's spending. Some are, but that's when you only care about his money. But if he's spending a bunch of money on you and you are a stranger on a first, second, and third date, how much money do you think he's going to spend on strangers? Let's go one more. Try this. If he's wasteful with you when he meets you, how can you guarantee that he's fiscally responsible for a long-term relationship? So it's not about impressing you. What should impress you is his organizational skills, his budgeting, his time management, his respect for you, his appreciation for you, the validation of you, his prioritizing you and your needs. But these are non-monetary skill sets that all people have, both men and women have. There's no dollar sign there, because those are the same characteristics that women have to produce to show a man that she is interested in him. But if she's going to put on a highly attractive outfit so that he can desire to sleep with the girl, and he's going to spend a bunch of money, she's focalizing her value on her looks. He's focalizing his value on his money. And if he can match the quantity of money he's throwing down on the table to the amount of effort that she puts into making herself desirable, they're going to exchange. But that transactional scenario devalues both individuals, because he's not looking at her for all of the skills that she could be bringing to the table, and she's not looking at him for all of the skills he could be bringing to the table. And they're both ignoring any flaws that are not that exchange, which then leads you into a negative relationship. You got to remember that high value men are not trying to prove themselves to women or to their society. They're just living their best life. And if someone wants to join them, that is great. This mindset shift can totally transform your interactions, because you do have to realize is that if somebody joins a high valued man's lifestyle, that man will instinctively share his estate with his partner. He's not going to be selfish, but he's not going to beg you to come and enjoy his success, because that's his success. What billionaire begs a poor person to come and spend a billionaire's money? Doesn't happen. Rich people tend to avoid going places where poor people are if they have to. But if for some reason you are accompanying a person with wealth, as that person of wealth is spending money in the group, they more than likely will cover the whole group. So you don't have to ask that person, do they got you? You got enough, you bring enough to cover yourself. And every time they catch you, that's just money still in your back pocket. Don't ask for nothing you can't cover for yourself. But when they catch it, don't argue. And ladies, if y'all treat a dating that way, y'all will see more success. This mindset shift will totally transform your interactions with women, making them more relaxed and more genuine, because they're not going to be after you for your money. But let's look at some real life examples. Here goes some stats from Japan. In 2025, the number of men joining personal growth clubs and workshops has increased by 41% compared to 2020, with many citing relationship improvement as their main goal. In Brazil, a study by the University of Sao Paulo found that men who volunteered or engaged in community work are 53% more likely to be rated as attractive by women in their social circles. India, who we just talked about last week, Wednesday, the Times of India's annual relationship survey related that and revealed also open communication and emotional transparency are now the top qualities women seek in partners, surpassing financial stability for the first time ever. Now, let's take this journey even further, because if you join me as I take on this particular aspect of things, which is exploring love beyond borders and seeing how far we can really get with it, we understand that in today's interconnected world, love is known for no boundaries. It is a universal language that brings people together, regardless of their cultural backgrounds or geographical distances. As we navigate our increasingly globalized lives, it is essential to recognize that beauty and complexity of love beyond borders is starting to improve. In 2025, nearly 1 in 5 new couples worldwide met across borders, according to the International Dating Federation. That something that we have not experienced before. Love is truly going global, more so because of the social media and dating apps. We can connect from across the world. WhatsApp allows you to call people for free, the way Skype used to do back in the day. And some countries are using WeChat as well. According to a 2025 Pew Research study, 42% of millennials and Gen Z say that they're open to international relationships, and 28% have already dated someone from a different country. The rise of digital technology, remote work, and international travel has made it easier than ever to connect with someone from a different culture. In fact, the number of long distance and cross cultural relationships has increased by 34% since 2020, according to the Global Love Index. But let's be real. Love beyond borders isn't always a fairy tale because cross cultural relationships can be incredibly rewarding, but they come with unique challenges. Societal expectations can loom large. Imagine being in a community where your relationship is met with skepticism or disapproval. In fact, a recent survey found that 35% of cross cultural couples face resistance from family or society at some point in their journey. Language barriers can lead to misunderstandings, and navigating different traditions or customs takes patience and empathy. Family acceptance is another big hurdle. In some cultures, over 50% of couples report struggling to gain approval from their families, according to the Global Family Institute for 2025's report. But here's the inspiring part. Couples who navigate these challenges often develop remarkable resilience and adaptability. They learn to communicate more deeply, celebrate their differences, and build a bond that's stronger for having weathered adversity. Research shows that cross cultural couples are 27% more likely to report high relationship satisfaction due to their shared growth and teamwork, reinforcing the fact that if both of you put equal effort into each other, or reasonably similar effort into each other, that you will see more success in your relationship than what you would see in a relationship where you just allow the other person to do all of the necessary work that needs to be done in a relationship, where you coast on autopilot as the other person puts in effort, which was the traditional way that things went. And even then, those relationships back in the day still required the effort from both parties, because in order for the relationship to last 20, 30, 40 years, the wife's got to put up with a lot of differences while the husband's putting up a lot of efforts. There's a fascinating 2025 study by the European Institute for Relationships found that couples who speak different native languages report 19% higher levels of intentional communication, meaning that they actively work to understand each other, which strengthens their connections. And that's weird because those of us that speak the same language don't put in that much effort into listening to one another or supporting one another's thought process or following each other's goals and aspirations, which is definitely something different than what we would experience in a cross-cultural relationship. So let's touch on a few inspiring stories like Maria and Jonah. They met on a study abroad program where, excuse me, she was from Brazil and he was from Sweden. And today they celebrate both Carnival and Midsummer together, blending their traditions into something uniquely their own. Ashaya and Daniel, they met online during the pandemic, separated by thousands of miles, but used technology to bridge the gap and eventually built a life together in a new country. Pyra and Alex, despite facing cultural prejudices and language hurdles, they persevered and became advocates for multicultural love in their community, inspiring others to follow their hearts. Fatima and Luca, a 2025 United Nations report, highlighted their story as an example of how cross-border couples can foster peace and understanding between communities after facing initial resistance. They now run a nonprofit promoting cultural exchange in their city. These stories are proof that love can conquer even the tallest barriers. They remind us that our differences don't divide us, they enrich us, making our relationships more vibrant and our world more compassionate. So let's not forget the role technology plays, because in 2025, over 60% of cross-cultural couples say they met online, whether through dating apps, gaming communities, or social media. Video calls, translation apps, and virtual reality dates are now commonplace. And a virtual reality date is like video calling and you go on one place and they're going another, or actually having a legitimate virtual reality date because they got VR glasses out there now. Like there's so much stuff going on, y'all. According to the 2025 Digital Romance Study, VR date nights have increased by 22% since last year, helping couples bridge the physical gap. So here's my challenge to you. If you guys start today, share your first step in the comments or tag me on social. Let's build our value together and inspire a ripple effect of growth and positivity across our communities. Reflect on your strengths and passions. Set one small, meaningful goal this week. Maybe it's having a deeper conversation or just being present with someone you care about. Practice real self-care and keep building your support networks. And remember, the people around you can lift you higher if you have the right people around you. So weed out the ones that bring you down and emphasize more people that'll build you up so that you got more time and effort to build up other people around you. If you've ever felt overlooked or frustrated in dating, or if you've made progress by adapting some of these high value habits, I want to hear your story. Drop your comments into the comment section below. Share the episode with a friend who needs a boost, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more insight on leveling up your life and your relationships. So let's make 2025, because we're halfway through the year. Let's make the rest of this year a balanced year where we all can meet that expectation of higher value, in case you didn't know. And we're going to not only maintain a level of high value, not just inside, but also outside. And I ask you this, are you ready to join the challenge? Because if you are, we're going to be doing this together. I want to thank you guys for joining me on today's journey. I want you to remember that your value is unique. Your love story is your own. And together we can break down every barrier, personal, cultural, or otherwise. The personal value is the foundation for everything your career, your relationship, and your happiness is built off of. Remember that high value habits aren't about perfection. They're about authenticity, growth, and connection. So love beyond borders is more than just a trend. It's a movement that's making our world more compassionate, inclusive, and united. So in 2025, since the world is more connected now more than ever, let's use that connection to build ourselves up, reach out to others, and prove that no distance is too great, no difference too vast, and no dream too bold. I want you guys to keep building, keep loving, keep pushing those borders. And remember that we are going to be here every night of the week. We're not going to let the sun rise without going live. Make sure that you touch base with us, because we're going to have that special guest coming to us on Wednesday. We're going to be here at 11 o'clock Eastern time, which is 10 o'clock Central time. And I want to make sure that you guys show up for it and ask whatever questions that you're going to ask her. And keep in mind we're going to be talking about whatever Trump's arguing with Elon Musk with on Monday. And we're going to be doing a couple of more shows, one tomorrow and one on Sunday, where Sunday is our question and comments from the fans. So as I get details of it, I might touch base with you about it tomorrow. But the full scope of what just happened between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, we're going to be talking about it on Monday. And then we're going to be going into finance and business and how to make money for us. I'm also going to be letting you guys know what the results are, because on the 12th, we're supposed to be holding on to International Seaway. And then after that, we're supposed to be moving on to some other investment platforms. So I do believe Arbor Realty is up next, but we'll be talking about that on Tuesday as to which stock to invest in for the week as we're doing our dividend rotation strategy. So make sure that you stay tuned, because we will be, as I get notifications of high value dividend payouts, I will be giving you a weekly rollout of some high value dividend payouts that would have occurred at least bi-weekly, if not monthly, depending upon when the pay dates are. Because throughout our dividend rotation strategy, we're going to meet the ex-dividend date. And then after that, we're going to move on to the next ex-dividend date. And then the delay between meeting those books and then receiving those payouts is going to be the difference, because each stock is different. Some stocks pay 3 weeks after, some stocks pay 2 weeks after, some stocks pay in the same month, some stocks pay in the following month. And depending upon when they pay determines when you start seeing the dividends return to you from the stock option. However, once we put it in there and we get that confirmation, we're going to move on to the next one. And I'll be able to let you know what happened off of 30 days of moving things around. I'll be able to tell you what the growth rate was versus the loss rate. And we'll be able to determine exactly what we're doing versus what we need to do. I did take a loss because I had some stock from before the big dip. I got rid of some of that stock so that I could have more money for the big shift. And the money that I'm supposed to make off of the big shift is supposed to offset the dip that I took, which ultimately means that while I took a loss for 300, I supposed 250, and I'm making a gain of 354. We should see a difference of like 100. But after that, every other time the hit hits, it's going to be a positive gain. So now it's like, well, do the move, do the buy-in, do the shift, and just keep working it from there. Because if we start picking up some of the lower price stocks that has the higher price values, and we just start building ourselves back up on that, we will see ourselves in a different position where over time things will start building up. But once it gets back to 12 and 18 and $19 a share, we will have 4 and 5 times the value. Because right now, with it being at $6.90 or $6.92, we've got a lot of ground to cover for this company to bounce back to where it once was. But again, we're going to be doing a lot of shifts, because we're going to be doing some buy and holds in addition to the rotation strategy, because anything that's sitting there for 121 days can fall into the tax-free bracket, while everything that's shifting on a month-to-month basis is going to be taxed regularly. We're going to find a balance between all of it, and then I'm going to let you guys know which ones are the most effective, because the highest level of success that we had in our dividend rotation strategy blueprint was to keep the monthlies in the monthly position and just rotate through the quarterlies. Because if your monthly is going to pay out every month at the same level, and then you rotate out your quarterlies, then you'll be making the most out of your investments, which is beneficial for all of us. So we're going to see what we're going to touch base on and how often we're going to touch base on it. And we're also going to determine, because you need a 24-hour window to buy in, and you need a 48-hour window to sell, because it's going to be a 2-day overlay from the day that you sell. So from 2 days before the date, the day of, and the 2 days after the date, or 3 days after the date for the money to clear, you're looking at about 6 days. And you have to find your buy-in date has to be within 3 days of the sell date, where you can buy in something else immediately after your money clears. And that's going to be the closest that you will have a buy and a sell. Otherwise, it's going to be 4 days or longer between the day that you sell the stock versus the day that you buy the other stock. And you have to find out how many stocks can you put in the rotation, because remember, no stocks are traded on the weekend, and there are holidays for banks and stock trading, and your transactions that are based off of business days are delayed by 3-day weekends or 4-day weekends. So you have to make sure that when you're making these trades that you're not getting caught up in a 3-day weekend, or you're not going to miss out because of the 3-day weekend. We're going to be talking about all of those as we keep moving forward. Beyond that, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, again, since this is a 75% male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, I greatly appreciate y'all for coming to the show and showing us love, because without you fellas, I don't know where we would be. But I would still be here trying to make it work. Either way, there's no giving up on this. With that being said, thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.